Welcome everyone to our sweet group and panel of Freebirth dads. We started diving right into it, so we pressed record so we can carry on the amazing conversation, and you don't have to feel like you have to keep videos on or audios on guests or hosts at any time if babies need you or life happens. But let's jump right in. Not everyone, some of you are meeting me for the first time, so I should also introduce myself. I'm Gori and I support, you see, even now my words say I support mums and birth workers to support women to have amazing births and a whole lot of other stuff. And now it's coming to our kind of energy and space that actually we need to support moms and dads. So yeah, we have dads. They're quite an important part of the conversation, and I feel so honored to have this. I also feel like this is new territory for me, even though, of course, I have a husband who was at my birth. I didn't have my free birth myself, but I had pretty hands off my husband and one midwife behind me. So let's just start. Let's hear from the dads. Let's hear from the journey that they've experienced, how they came to these decisions. Just, you know, real people navigating real life things, and we can have real discussions and hopefully share and connect and expand the safe, beautiful love energy around holding space for our amazing womb wisdom and for the men who hold that space also. Let's start. If Indulek is ready to start, because I know you have a time, I know you have a time thing. So if you feel ready to introduce yourself, otherwise someone else can start. Or I can give a little intro also. Induleka is my very dear friend and doula assistant. I'm going ahead. In Mayapur, we've done many births together, and it was so sad for me to leave just before her birth. But yes, Induleka. I mean, Induleka and her husband, Vishnurata, and Vishnurata has the microphone now. You can just introduce yourself, yes, and how you came to the choice of having a free, or no, just introduce yourself so we can get to know everyone first. So just 2 minutes round for our panels, and then you can come back to you and say how you came to the decision of a free birth and everything you'd like to share into that. Sound okay?
And I'm Vishnu Rata, and this is Hari Vishnu, our firstborn son.
Can everyone hear okay? Okay, please continue.
So stay in India, afterwards, they're presently with the daughter, and my husband is 50. Let's not go into that, right? So,
Tanika and Ravi, a quick intro.
So we are just
Robbie.
Robert and Tanika, our little baby Ian, firstborn. We a little bit secluded close to Kruger National Park, and yes, we are very happy to have a conversation and hear from other dads and stories as well.
Very cool. And Robbie and Kirsty.
Hey.
Hey.
This is Batman. And,
and Batman.
Yeah, so yeah, we down in Cape Town. We had our second born here, free birth. We had our firstborn in Johannesburg at home as well, accompanied by a midwife and a doula.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you. Dot.
Oh.
And Nicole and Rome.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
I'm Rome, and this is my amazing wife, Nicole. And we have 3 kids now, and we've just had our third 3 months ago. And we experienced this amazing free birth experience. And yeah, can't wait to to share more with everyone and hear your stories as well.
Cool. And I think as we have questions, you keep questions for the end and we can just go into a casual chat. You can see I want this to be very flowy. So I think this will cover a lot if we just start with those questions. Vishnurata, would you like to start? Is that okay? Yeah.
Actually, I'm a bit confused, like what I'm supposed to say today, you know?
Okay, so we'll start, you go second, then we just get into the flow. Because everyone's got their own story of how we come to these decisions. And Induleka, you can also, it's just really sharing your story, but it's quite a powerful place for a man to hold, to give this, you know, to make this decision, or to allow, you know, as we call it now, their wife to make this decision. So what was your process in coming to do this with her? Yeah, like that.
No.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
So how your process was in, you know what, let's come back. You start second, and someone else can just go through the story, and then you'll see it will flow for you when it's your turn. Robbie and Kirsty.
Okay, so okay, I'll just begin by saying we are not common people, I suppose. We not really go by the law or by medical assistance, or we're kind of natural, earthly people. So the medical process obviously wasn't our first choice. We had our first child. We got pregnant in Johannesburg, and Kirsten got me involved in this home birthing. Very nice. So we had decided, we'd gone through a bunch of people that we knew about home birthing, and we started researching home birthing. And at that time, we had actually booked in at a home birthing facility called Genesis in Johannesburg, and it provided some sort of home birth facility feel, bed, a bath, dim lighting, and that was our original choice. And just going through the process, we decided with our midwife, we decided that we're going to do a home birth. Everything was in check. We'd done minimal checks at the doctor. We'd been for, I think, 2 scans, and everything was healthy. We went to a gynecologist that also gave us a green light to do a home birth. So we accomplished the home birth with the midwife. And after doing a lot of training, antenatal classes, a lot of research, we said to each other that we would do, if we ever had another child, we would do it ourselves. And we were living in the Garden Route at that time, and we felt pregnant and searching for another midwife, even though we had originally discussed to not go with the midwife route. Our fear, I suppose, got to us, and we wanted some kind of assistance in this process. So we left the Garden Route because we didn't really find any midwives there that would assist us. So we came back to Cape Town, where we thought we would find a few more midwives, which the hunt for one turned out to be quite difficult. So going back to our original conversations of doing it ourselves and free birthing, that's took over, and a bit of research. We had a few people around us that helped us. Gary, you were one of them. Another friend of ours, Claire, that had given birth to 8 children. You know, we had a few people around us, and we were confident to do the free birth ourselves. You know, it wasn't my choice. It wasn't my idea. It was my choice. And just supported Kirsten in her belief that she could do it. And based on our first birth, I knew that she was very capable of going ahead. And yeah, we took the plunge, took the natural route, and yeah, free birthed successfully, beautifully.
Wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. let's leave it at I have some questions and some things I want to pick on there, but let's leave it like that and let's carry on the flow in the discussion. Whenever you're ready, Induleka, or whoever's ready next, I think time will still be okay. So whoever's ready to flow next.
So yeah, I'd like to share something about our second one actually, because he is also was born in our own place. But at that time, my mother-in-law came from Russia, and also one friend was assisting. And for the second one, for our little daughter, now she's like 29 days already. So it was happening very quickly. So at night, actually, we were planning to call another midwife, our friend midwife, but it was, yeah, it happened very quickly.
And you didn't get to call anyone. Is it frozen?
So I was like, all right, but I always kept my mind relaxed, and I always had this positive thinking that everything will be all right. And then she told me that because I was asking her, so what I'm supposed to be doing now, and she said that you go to sleep because you will not get any chance to sleep. So I went to bed, I slept, and it's around 12 o'clock or 12:30 at night. So he was kind of wailing, like, oh, and I woke up. Hey, what's going on, babe? What's going on? Actually, we're planning to, he will give birth in a pool inside the water because our firstborn was born in the water. And then I was asking her, like, should I load the water? And she said, no, seems like we don't have enough time. So it just happened.
It's frozen again. It was an unplanned free birth. I mean, Dad attending free birth.
It was like, it felt confident. Yeah, I also felt confident because this is not the first time. This is the second one. It seems to be easier. Seems to be easier, and it is easier. Yeah, I just gave her a back massage, and she felt like kind of painful, really painful, and she squeezed my body all over. One time she got to choke my neck also. But when the baby was out, because this is my first experience, and I think that would be the last also. So it came out with a head and one hand. I was a bit panicking at that moment, and then I was asking her what next, and she said that pull her out, pull her out, pull her out. It's like really smooth. So that was it. Like I was thinking, like, yeah, when it's time to come out, it just come out.
Yeah.
You know, it's natural. It's kind of a natural thing.
Yeah.
And in her pregnancy, we never went to hospital or just once, like just to check the gender and the position of the baby inside the womb. That's it. So that was like, yeah, amazing experience. You want to add something?
Yes. Yeah.
Say again?
As you see in general, I mean, like my husband, he didn't prepare. In general, well, I was prepared, and I was thinking about Freebirth, like an assisted. But actually, when the first day, I was thinking about that. So, and it was in my mind. And like, what about my husband? I think he also attended the birth of his younger brother. I think that gave him some confidence, like everything should happen easily. It also was.
Yeah.
So, and like always, he told me like, oh, it's easy, you know, it's easy.
Yeah, the thing is that I grew up in the village in Indonesia, so every single person, every single mother in my village, they don't go to the hospital for childbirth. It was kind of something natural. So
Yeah.
in the village, like everybody just deliver their child, they deliver their babies at home.
Yeah.
You know, so it's kind of really natural. But of course, nowadays, like people are going to
Yeah.
hospital. Yeah, yeah. I attended my younger brother when my mother was giving birth to my younger brother. So I didn't sleep at night waiting for him to come out because I was so excited. I was so excited to have a younger brother. And it was like, well, because for my mom, that was the third child, so it's easy for her. Yeah, in general, that's how we practice in the village.
That's so powerful because, you know, we don't all have that conditioning. We have quite a lot of, you know, other conditioning around birth. And so that's quite beautiful to bring that in. And yeah, it just sounded, you know, like just such a beautiful moment between the three of you, that you're working together, you know, to do this. And it happened too quickly for you to include anyone else, and it wasn't necessary. Beautiful, thank you. Who's inspired next? How about Nicole and Rome? Rome? Welcome.
Sure.
Yeah.
Guys, what awesome stories, and really nice to hear that we're not the only crazy people doing this. I guess for us, it's been quite a long journey, a good 6 years in the making. I've always been inclined to, we were in China when we were conceived Mayu. And when we came back to South Africa, I immediately was like, I don't want to go to doctors. We don't want to go to the hospital. It felt more scary to do that than have it at home, you know? So we went down that whole route. That's when we met Kauri. That's when we met Caitlin and a lot of awesome, powerful women who have kind of led us down this journey and led to a successful birth of Mayu at home. And then 3 years later, we had Noah. And that was a very intense birth. It was 54 hours. So, and that was also at home with midwife and doula. And that whole experience led us, then we moved to Plet down the garden route, and was much more kind of secluded. So we ended up, Nicole's dream was always to do free birth. And she had kind of warned me that, hey, I think we should, a few years in advance, that eventually she wants to do a free birth. And when the time came, I was like, okay, but what is this? How do we do this? And what does it mean, So yeah, it was quite a interesting journey. We still consulted with midwife and doulas, and but in the end, it all happened amazingly, and it was actually the easiest birth of them all, and very natural. And it was all about just her being as empowered as she could be, to just believe that she can do it, and me also to believe that she can do it. So yeah, that was just in a nutshell how we came to it. And yeah, got a lot more to share, but I don't want to go on too long. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that good? Cool. Is there anything else? Is Gary still here?
I'm sorry, I'm talking away with my mute on. Nicole, you want to add anything there, or should we go on to Robbie and Tanika? And we're just starting to stir the pot, because, you know, we're just coming, okay, I can see we're just like, we're starting to like, we're going to jump right in it. So, you know, into the juice of like, how did you traverse this in your mind? You know, how can you trust a woman to do this herself? Robbie and Tanika, Robbie? Yeah.
Well, I think I had to trust her because I couldn't do it.
Your first intro you shared just with us four was so cool. Just share again your journey to coming to do this.
It was quite long and intense, but I think us being where we are made it the way it was, because not having anybody really to even have a conversation around, even just having a kid other than my father was yeah, it's not easy then to kind of be emotionally there to try and have a conversation. So yes, and that led us to like try and explore a lot of other options, and we only got information on Tanika's Instagram feed, because
Pretty much.
yeah, because the more I tried, I just got silly stuff. 17 ways to burp your baby, for instance, and it wasn't nearly what I needed to be there during the birth or even before the birth, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for me it was trusting her and the natural process, and not giving away my power of being there to anybody else that I don't even know if they love doing it, you know. So yeah, and then we kind of thought of doing a doula and a midwife, but it was impossible to find somebody in our area, and then even to afford somebody to kind of drive out, live with us here, secluded and everything. Even though I can give them food, it still would not have been you know, even remotely possible. So yeah, I think that was a big thing, letting go of all fears, but also then exploring all fears, you know, like sitting there saying, okay, what is the worst case scenario possibly, and then like just sitting with that and exploring on how I would.
Yeah.
I get emotional because it's
Big.
And there's also nobody talks about it, so we often don't, and it was difficult viewing babies' deaths and things, and then also I kind of sitting there, what if it happens? How would we navigate that? And then also her, what happens if I can't be there for her? And having experienced death before, it doesn't make it simple. So I don't want to be emotional because then maybe you won't hear what I have to say. So yeah, but it was magical. I think once I just let the process go and let it happen and let her do what she needs to do, what feels comfortable, and trust that she knows and her body knows if she needs to go into a position, I just need to support her. But it was still, it's not easy if you don't have anybody or anything or any information. So yeah, it was difficult waters to navigate, but I promise you, once it all happened, it just solidified that, you know, it's a natural process, and there's a few things that we need to do, but we as men we're more than capable. I mean, I don't think we need to go study for 8 years just to be there for our wives. I'm not saying that we should go and deliver every single baby, but we should definitely be more present.
Yeah, we should definitely be more present. Yeah, thank you. And I think I don't think being emotional is something to apologize or be weak for. Of course not, because what you said just before that was, you know, we think it's so like, oh, we also want a magical birth and we also want a goddess birth, but what was the sacrifice? It wasn't sacrifice of you being busy and doing stuff and what. It was a very deep inner, not sacrifice, process. That's hard, and that's what I see. You know, that's kind of what I see. And, you know, I can relate a little bit because sometimes I share that in a birth process, but I do have tools, so I feel supported, you know, in one sense. Does anybody else want to speak into that part? Just about, you know, preparing and facing these, you know, you can't just hope these questions away. So Kirsty and then Rome. Yeah, I mean, Robbie, Kirsty, then Rome, Nicole.
So just for the mothers and the dads who might not know this part, but one of the most important preparations I had to do was to surrender to what may be. And one of the things that may be is death. And to really go there in my pregnancy and be there emotionally, jolted into that what if, and then realizing I would have to take accountability and respond to so many naysayers should that take place, and just be okay in that, and accept that this baby was gifted to us, to me, and that it's well within my rights to make those decisions and then to take that accountability. So yeah, that was definitely a huge part, and probably one of the most, if not the most important parts of preparation, that as a mother and as a pregnant woman, I had to do it. And the most liberating part as well, because once you deal with that what if and that surrender, then you are just so empowered, and no midwife, no disrespect to the midwives or birth keepers, but can give you more than that. I'm done. That's it.
Amazing. Cara, did you want to say something? Still on mute. Okay.
You continue, yeah. Perfect.
Okay. I wrote some things down. I'm just trying to get access to it. So for me, there was a few fears that came up, and the ones that stood out was not being, I felt like, because I was so involved in the previous two births, I was like right next to her the whole time. And now we obviously have two children. So I had to be almost more involved with the children, or more, we didn't have my mom there. We didn't have Nicole's mom there either. Yeah, so minimal support. So I had to really be with the kids. And, you know, in the beginning, I was like kind of a little bit, I was like half in, half out. And because of that, Nicole had to tell me that, you know, if I didn't feel comfortable, I don't have to be there. And then I had to really look at myself and be like, yo, like, what's most important, and can I look at my fears and really make sense of them and move through them. So for me it was more about like feeling like, am I welcomed at the birth, and am I needed even, you know, in this kind of new way of doing birth. But that was a very internal thing. It's my own fears of maybe not being needed or not being able to support in the right way. And yeah, that was quite a big thing for me. But yeah, that was eventually I moved through that. And then the other thing was, am I going to be able to be as strong mentally as I need to be?
How did you move through that?
How did I move through that?
How do you move through that? There's a very primal kind of construct of needing whatever proves us of being needed, you know, whatever that means to us. And it's a very kind of important construct around birth. So I guess you consciously feel into it. You don't necessarily have a solution, but you unpacked it in some way. I
had to unpack it and almost shift my idea of what being needed is, or supporting is. And before, it was kind of like our relationship was kind of about me saving Nicole, in a sense. You know, there was a lot of this kind of like being the hero type of thing. That was, you know, it's romantic and all of these things. But I had
like
to
in your
shift
mind,
to be like,
at the beginning of, in your mind, you think
Now in our relationship, it's been that way.
Okay.
You know,
Not just
the
about
other
free
birth.
Yeah.
No, not just in general, and then in the previous births, it was very much, I was a strong leading kind of presence. I was trying to be that, and I wanted to be that. And in this one, it was like, I need to step back and allow her to just do what she needs to do, and just kind of affirm to her in a sense that she's going to do it. And at the same time, I wasn't even with her most of the day. The day she went into labor, I was with the kids the whole time, and I gave her space to just breathe through what she needed to breathe through. So I wasn't even there. So yeah, it was tough to let go of that. Hello.
Yeah, is there more on your list? Hello?
Yeah, the other thing for me was just, am I there? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you're perfect.
Okay, awesome. So the other thing was, I guess, trusting that I will show up in the best way that I can. I was scared that maybe I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a lot of emotions and unable to be strong, essentially.
I can see Rabbi Tanik is
and
nodding also. That's, this is a general concern, like what if you're like didn't sleep last night, or what if the rooster crowed early, or
yeah, and you have some days where you just feel more anxious. It's just a reality, so I was aware of that.
Doesn't wait.
Yeah, so it's a trusting process. I did quite a lot of things to move through that physically, mentally. I do a lot of meditation and breath work that always helps me. I did some martial arts classes and things just to kind of feel strong. I upped my physical activities and stuff just to get there in my body as well. That helped a lot. And the last fear was death. And after having a great conversation with my partner and just really unpacking what it would be and on what level we're fearing death, understanding how I felt about it, how she felt about it, that became really not as big of a thing after we just had an open conversation.
And Robbie and Kirsty also nodding there. Was this a discussion you also had? Did you all have this discussion about, the possibility of death? Is this what happens when you prepare for a free birth?
Yeah.
Nicole, Rome, Tanika, Robbie, Kirsty, Robbie?
I don't know. Me personally, I didn't want to shine too much light or give it too much attention, that part. Bring that, to say, negative energy into our space.
Yeah.
We were focused on the objective at hand, and trying to set the space up and make the environment and the experience the outcome we desired, to say that, and not hover too much. Briefly spoke about it, but it wasn't an option for us.
I see. Yes, I understand.
Mm.
And Induleka and Vishnurata, did you feel you had to have these discussions, or did you feel you've already had them? Your faith came into it. Mayapur is very, very remote. Well, not very, very, but an hour and a half. Can I pin you again?
Sorry?
Carry on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Can hear you, just the sound's a little bit muffled. Just keep talking. I think it gets better as you speak.
actually, the first one I had some anxiety in this regard, but with the second one, I don't think so, because like the whole year we had birth, and in general I had the faith, like we are not in control of birth and death, and like what's supposed to happen will happen. So we can't do anything. And somehow that gave me some confidence, and also that we did well this year so many births. It also gave me confidence.
Can't hear so much.
I didn't think about something.
You've got singing in the background. But what I can hear, you know, is that this was more of a thing for you for your first baby, and that you had this faith, and you also had this very strong connection with your baby.
Yeah. In this time or yes. Like with my first one, I had some anxiety because before that I had miscarriage. I think those who got miscarriage before that something is there. And you know, like first time I don't know what to expect. And yeah, because the second child, I got the confidence. I mean, like even if something happens, what can I do? And nobody can do anything. So just do that. That's it. That's saying something. And yeah, like
because you're in a situation where there was no professionals that you know would be able to consult, or you know, because it was so remote and rural.
Well, just this is something fatalistic. I'm always like this because if something bad will happen, you still can change. You know or don't know, you can approach someone, you can call professionals. If it's supposed to happen, whatever you do, so why should I worry then?
So it's a matter of surrendering to what will happen.
Be fully prepared.
Frozen again. It's a little bit difficult to hear. Induleka? It's a little bit difficult. Yeah? Sorry, it keeps freezing and then we can't hear it. Say again?
Rather than be disturbed by some negative thoughts, so I can just put all my energy into to positive in my mind. Yes?
Yeah.
That's more.
So you focused on the positive.
Not even that. I understand I can change the thing. That's like and that gives me some support and confidence. So better to help myself, yes, with this positive thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can change it. So,
yeah. It's interesting to, different approaches. And Rome, did I interrupt your flow with your list? And I got, no, when you spoke about.
Nicole did want to say something though, but yeah.
I just wanted to say, so part of like the preparation for myself was, really looking at what happens if I have, loss of the baby, but also if something happens to me, if I die, I leave behind my husband and my kids. So there's that possibility of death of the mother or death of the child. What does that feel like, And I think in our previous birth, in our previous births, we didn't even think about that because we were kind of like outsourcing, and really trusting that everyone there was gonna kind of like save the day, and nothing could ever happen. But what I realized is that death happens whether professionals are there or not, and birth happens whether professionals are there or not, you know. And this was an opportunity for us to really look at death as a sacred part of the cycle, you know, of life, death, rebirth, and life, you know. So it was a very, very difficult conversation. It was a hard process for me to go through. I don't even think I fully have processed it. But it was a very empowering conversation to have, you know, even for Rome to ask me, you know, babes, if something did have to happen to baby, what kind of support do you think you would need? I've never ever thought about that. You know what I mean? I've never ever had to think, I've never ever thought about that. And like, why have I never thought about that? Because I mean, it could have totally have happened, you know. Who would I call on? What support would I need? So I feel like those conversations were so valuable and so beautiful, and brought us closer, I feel. And I also feel freed me in some way. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as much as, you know, it's the, I guess the common practice just to, you know, stay positive and just focus on what we want. Sometimes we have to release those underlying fears, the subconscious fears, because we're all afraid of death, right? So that, and by speaking about it, you definitely are able to release it to some degree, you know. And then we felt lighter actually to really focus in on the positive outcome that we want.
And so that became an important discussion for you to have, that needed to open things. Yeah. And yeah, it's very powerful conversations to have. It's very hard, you know, because you don't want to go into those spaces if you don't have to, you know. So we do everything we can to defend ourselves from thinking about it, and it can also trigger past experiences or your own birth traumas. I have more questions for you guys, but I also just want to invite Kulina almost had a free birth, and she wanted her husband to also have a chance to share. So are you ready now, Kulina?
He's gone to he's teaching. He's gone to.
Okay. Do you want to share a little bit about how you came to that process? Your baby is born on the same day as Tanika and Ravi. Can you believe that? You both had daughters on the same day. It was so cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to share, or do you want to keep it for another one? I do plan to have more, because you can see, you know, even us, you know, you don't all have to appear again, but relationships come from obviously doing this again and again. And sometimes we can go on the outside, and sometimes we can go really right deep and like just go for like we just did, basically. And I can vibe on that. And we can also vibe on, well, what are practical things, you know, and what things came up, and what did your in-laws say, and did you deal with your own birth trauma? I'm going to open this up. I'm going to unspotlight us all, and we can just kind of go into a discussion about anything about this. I think will be a nice way to move. If that sounds good. Does the audience have any questions at this point? Are the people who are watching, you are some birth keepers, some of you are interested because you want to support women, some of you are dads. That's awesome. So dads, if you have any questions, you can put in the chat, and we can really continue. If anybody feels pulled in any direction now to continue on any thread, I have loads of questions, because for me, in my process of accepting that obviously I need to support free birth, and actually maybe I should only support free birth in my own process, you know, that's even worth just sharing with other birth keepers. And Lana was here also, because it took a lot of shifting in my mind you know, one is to trust the process. One is to also, so my question is like, well, are you prepared? How would I prepare a dad? How would I prepare a dad to support? Is a hard question for me, as you could see some of you asked me. So what did you do to like help prepare for the day? Or, you know, what did you do practically to have ready for the day? And yeah, is that a good question? I'm gonna I want someone to just
you
take
don't mind,
the lead. Go for it. I'm gonna put my video off and come back in a minute. Excuse me, but please carry on.
Tanika myself, Tanika was inspired to start an altar, so just like a little birthing altar, and whatever we could find out of the garden, little flowers and things, we would then ritualistically put it in on the table, and then eventually we moved that into into the bird space, where we felt there'd be multiple options and multiple ways where she would find comfort. We were lucky to have a very big bath. We also had a shower right next to the bath, so it was preparing that little space already helped quite a lot. And it was a couple of months in preparation. We did that. Yeah, well, for myself, but I think Rome briefly touched on it. You know, also did a lot of meditation, did martial arts and things, and I think it helped me to stay relaxed during the whole process and things, and also just be more present. But I don't think anything can really prepare one. Yeah, I don't think there was anything else that we really did other than that little altar and just like trying to be present in that space and like bring only the good into that space. Yeah, I don't think there was any other prep. I wish I knew a little bit more. I wish I had maybe 1 or 2 births before we fully went for this. But then again, yeah, I think
we wouldn't have it any other way.
we would not want to have it any other way. I was just saying, Gori, that we had a little altar, and that was basically the most things we did, and just like preparing the little bird space. Yeah, moved the altar from one space to the other when we got closer to the time. But other than that, not really anything else in preparation though.
Yeah.
Anyone else? I mean, that's Tanika's first baby and Ravi's first baby. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
And anybody want to
I think personally, sorry for interrupting. It was also like what Rome touched on, was also like finding that space where if I'm there, am I really assisting? Am I really supporting, or am I just in the way? And like kind of accepting that, you know, if I'm not, if I'm in the way, like kind of just accept that, right? She's going to tell me to now go away, not to return until she wants me there. So yeah, that was truly difficult, because in my mind it was like, shit, but I'm supposed to be there. I'm supposed to always be there. And yeah, it was difficult to then just hand over and say, right, if it comes to that point, I'll be out of here. I'll just bring you whatever you need.
Wow. I don't know many men, I mean, like, yeah, just, wow, you know, because you're able to see that role, you're able to see like your needs in it, and you're able to see where your needs might be met and where you might be triggered and like take care of yourself before that comes. I think that takes like a sense of, you know, really connected to knowing yourself. Yeah. And having faith, you know.
Yeah.
You guys want to add to that, anyone?
Yeah, I'll add something. Well, not add something. I'll just say, as men, it's not our bodies, you know, and certain women choose this route, and a lot of women fear it, you know. And as a man, if you have a woman in your life that wants these things, the best thing you could do is support her, you know, and follow her lead and support in every single facet that is available for you to support. You know, that's yeah, that is my advice for other fathers, you know, to be as supportive as possible. You know, the research you can do, you can find it, share it. Your fears, you can share it, but ultimately the birth comes down to Kirsten or to your partner, and you can only be there as a supportive person. Oh, that's in my opinion.
I'd just like to add to what Robbie's saying as well. And like Nicole, I also came to this space where if anybody had any fear that they hadn't dealt with leading up to the birth, weren't allowed in the birth room. End of story. Like, I did my work, and anybody who wanted to be a part of it, be dad, friend, whoever, midwife, doula included, they weren't welcome. And Robbie didn't mention in the beginning, but we actually were running 2 groups. We had provisionally booked a midwife, and my first birth, home birth, I felt, although she empowered me tremendously to believe in my body and the process, when it came down to the first home birth that we had, the midwife brought in all the fear. And 6 hours before we had our first born at home, he packed our hospital bags and was arguing with us to take us to hospital. And we knew from the awesome preparation that she gave us for 9 months that there's no reason to go to hospital. So she used the term bullied her to insist on our home birth.
Yeah, if I can, I can tell you a bit of that story. So the midwife, and for our first birth, the midwife and the doula had told us Kirsten been in labor for about 6 to 8 hours, and it got to from 11 o'clock in the evening, and by 8 o'clock in the morning, she told us that no, she thinks that it's best that we go to hospital because she doesn't think that Kirsten will have the energy to pursue the natural birth that we wanted when the time came. She thought she was too tired. And they told us that we had packed the bags and we're going to be ready to go. And I must inform Kirsten that they're going to be sending us to hospital. And I had argued this, and I said, for what reason, and so on. And they called our gynecologist that we had seen 2 days prior. And he said, no, everything was okay. And vitals were good. And the choice was ours now, and I argued the midwife saying, no, this is not what we prepared for. We didn't prepare to go to hospital. Or we had prepared, but it wasn't our birth vision to go to hospital with no reason to go. So we are staying. And 2 hours later, we gave birth. So she would have sent us to hospital, rush us to hospital and go deal with that ordeal of bright lights and so on for nothing.
And laboring in the car. No,
laboring in the car. So I told Chris and I, we lived in a little estate, and we walked in the park, and we decided we had a chat. Well, what chat me and Kirsten could have. And I asked her, is this the labor you want to have? Yes, it is the labor you want to have. How are you feeling? She said she was feeling okay. I was like, do you think you have the energy to continue this process? Yes, she does. So we went back to our house and we told the midwife, listen, we're not going. You must relax here. We went and laid on the couch for about an hour, 2 hours, and then about an hour and a half later, we gave birth.
And then also onto that, in that experience, the midwife had me doing what I call purple pushing, a term that we learned from hypnobirthing in this previous pregnancy. And if anything was going to exhaust me, it was that. And through the hypnobirthing course that Robbie and I did for Eva's birth, this is Eva, we learned that purple pushing is a complete fallacy. And that people who have been in a coma, women in comas have given birth. And, after birth of our first child, I said to Robbie, for me, the midwife got in the way and she disempowered me. She sent us, I must have walked between 5 and 10 kilometers during my labor to get it going. And it was her processes and her fear that ultimately exhausted me. However, innately, somehow we both knew that my body could do it. We just had to get out the way. And that was also another driving point to having a pure birth with Eva. So with Eva's birth, we had 2 birth teams. We had provisionally booked a midwife. And then we also had the pure birth team, which Gary was a part of. And those 2 teams only came up once I was about 40 weeks pregnant. And I said to Robbie at 42 weeks, I said, listen, don't be surprised if I tell you when I'm in labor to not call the midwife. And he was like, so what are we doing? Are we doing a pure birth or are we having a midwife? And I was like, I don't know. I haven't received the download yet, you know. He's like, how can you get the download? I said, it might only come when I go into labor. But then what happened is at 42 weeks, my midwife got scared and she broke up with us. So ultimately, luckily, thank goodness, I had been mentally and emotionally preparing for a pure birth anyways. And so when she broke up with us, yes, it did trigger anger, because not because for my birth, but the fact that there are so many midwives running around doing that. They're carrying you to 42 weeks. And then because at 42, hospitals and all the backups are hands off, they drop you. So a lot of them do. And that was just the green light for us, like, you are basically ordained to have a pure birth. And so at 42 weeks, we then finally knew we will definitely be having a pure birth. Yeah, that was just to share how midwife-led birth also promoted us to wanting a pure birth.
And there's a question here. They say, Jagadananda Das, Robbie and Kirsty's point is something I've been wondering about. What do we do? Where do we find the strength if it seems we have to transfer and possibly have to, sorry, I lost surrender to, where is it? Surrender to not having the birth we planned, or do we stick to our convictions and this will see us through? You guys, yeah, let's have a discussion on that.
We did a lot of preparation
Kirsty.
in our fourth pregnancy. Robbie will come in and also, because this is for Dad, so it should come from him. Can you repeat the question for Robbie, because she was being noisy?
Yeah, so someone in the chat has written about your point, like, what do we do? Where do we find the strength when it seems, if it seems we have to transfer and possibly have to surrender to not having the birth we planned, or do we stick to our convictions and this will see us through? And we'll give a chance for whoever wants to answer. I'd love to hear from you all.
Yeah, for me, everything preluding to the birth was clear that we were okay to have the birth that we wanted. Besides fear, there was no warning signs that we could not have this birth. So I suppose if there are warning signs and transferring, then yes, maybe that's the only option. But for us, besides someone else reason, for me, it wasn't a good enough reason for us to change our birth vision and pick up and pack up our bags and go. You know, we had planned for something, we prepped 42 weeks for something, to just throw it away based on someone else's fear, unjust fear, to say that. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that, you know. And just dealing with Kirsten and seeing how she was, her vitals were good, everything was good. Only thing that was taking longer was for the baby to decide to arrive. And I think our first birth had a lot of interference, you know, from the midwife, checking vitals, keep on switching positions, sending us for walks, which was realizing now, my second birth, that's actually not what you should be doing, you know. So yeah, I suppose every situation is unique.
So it's not something that crossed your mind also because you'd had for the second birth, but you'd also had that conviction in the first birth. You know, we walked through that possibility. And it's not like there was anything that made sense to you. So it couldn't land anywhere on you.
Yes, the only fear from our midwife at that time was that she thought that Kirsten would not have the energy to pursue the birth, you know. And me, I know Kirsten through and through, you know, she's a powerful woman, and I didn't see that, you know, she was fit, she was healthy, so there was no reason for her not to be able to have this birth.
Yeah. And anyone else want to answer? Yeah.
Yeah, so this was something we also had to kind of navigate. And I think it's different. Our experience was different leading up to our free birth, because Nicole actually had a 54-hour birth on our second child, and labor, and 54-hour labor. And in that, there was a lot of like questioning at which point does this need to go to the hospital? And luckily through that experience, firstly, I realized that she's like unstoppable, and she's a warrior woman of note who can, you know, just keep going with her energy levels just were there. You know, we just kept feeding her whatever she wanted. But so through that, I realized, okay, she has so much strength. I can totally rely on her. And only if she says, even though in those births, I think at about 50 hours, she was like, no, I'm done. Like, I want to go to hospital. But we looked at it and we said, hey, she actually still seems fine. So we let it go on a few more hours, and then the baby came, you know, and that was kind of also my intuition that she was fine still, etc. You know. But then in this birth, we had to look at it and be like, what happens if the worst happens? If something goes wrong, you know, because no one was going to tell us this time to go to hospital, you know. There wasn't, yeah, we were lucky. We never got forced in any of our births to try and do anything we didn't want to do. So now we had to think about what if at which point will we make the decision to go to hospital, and what that's going to look like, and where we're going to go, and who we're going to call, etc. So it was something that in my mind, I did have a backup plan that we will have to surrender to going to hospital if this and this happens, you know, which is maybe too much blood loss, or what else, babe?
I didn't go there too much, to be honest. In my first birth, it was not even an option for me to go to hospital. Second birth, I did verbalize it once at like 50 hours, as Rome said. But that was me being very external and asking. I verbalized it to Rome and not to the midwife. And our midwife at the time said, I will take it seriously if she says it to me, you know. But I was saying it to Rome because, like you said, the previous dynamic between us was I'm victim and he's hero and he has to keep saving me. So it was more me being so external and like, help me, save me, I can't deal. But I knew, and everyone else knew in the space, that I still have the energy to go. And then third time round, I had to rely very much on my intuition and my voice. And I just knew that I would intuitively feel if I really needed to go, and you know, if it was like, yeah, if I really needed to go, I just had to rely on spirit realm, you know, to show me and direct me in that way. And yeah, and then and to verbalize that from a real place, not from like a, you know, I need help and saving and whatever the case may be. And that, you know, Rome would be able to intuit as well, okay, she's being serious and let's go. So yeah, but to be honest, it wasn't something that we spoke too much about. Yeah.
But that's an interest. I mean, the question is for any home birth, really. And the question is, for your second birth, you're saying you released it in one sense, externalized it, you released it, and your baby was born. So it's almost the point we kind of come to in our labor, where we're like, save me, save me, save me, fuck, I have to do this. And we see it, yeah. Oh my God, the dads are the new birth keepers. of the womb wisdom. Thank you, dads. Robbie and Tanika, do you have any questions about the question of transferring? How would you know if you had to? How would you know when you don't and you have to carry on?
Yeah, I think we did briefly ask when is the time where we pull the plug and say, okay, right.
Yeah.
But
then I just envisioned riding in an ambulance on the dirt road while I'm in labor, and I was like, there's no way. I would rather deal with the outcomes, whatever happens here, than have that trauma as well.
But it's
and
real.
then also we only have state hospitals. The nearest private hospital is 3 hours drive. So there's just no way. We had to accept if it's going to go that way, it's going to go that way. And we had to completely just give into that process as well, even though it was difficult.
Yeah. And there was a bunch of times when he was checking in with me to try and see how far along I was. And I also had no idea. Like, I was also just going with the flow, but there was never a moment when I felt like, shit, this is now, we have to phone someone or do something. There was a moment at I said, I can't do this anymore. It hurts so bad, but I knew I would hit that wall. I was so prepared for that. And I knew I just had to, I have to go through it. This baby won't stay stuck inside of me forever. She will come out. And I just, I had to push through, get through that. And he helped me as well. He
It was not really knowing how far along in the process she is was really difficult. So you're trying to gauge time, even though there's no real
limit,
time limit to it. You're trying to gauge time. You're trying to figure out where are we? How should I support her now? How are we closer? Should I be worried? And it was quite funny because she had these affirmations written on the wall, and eventually I just ran out of stuff to say. So I read back her affirmations.
That's what they're there for.
Stay calm, you can do it, babe. Breathe deeply. It was difficult, but
it seems like we've been talking for just over an hour, and it really actually seems much longer. So I think we've pulled out a lot of deep connections, and it feels like a small group, but we don't judge things like that. And it's just been quite interesting for me how I'm like, oh yeah, I also gone through that process. I know it's such a bitch when you can't gauge how far they are and you have no idea how far it's going to be, and they're asking you, and I'm like relating. It's quite it's quite interesting.
And I'm trying to ask her, she's also not really sure, so now it also puts a bit of pressure on that. Are we still safe? But then just asking her and just checking back with her and saying, listen, are you okay? Are we still fine? And every time my mother was here, but my dad left the house as soon as the noises started. So my mom was just to be there if we needed. Eventually she ended up being here, which was great. But I try to ask her, and then also like not having somebody ask me and then putting pressure on. It's been long now, or we've been checking the time and it should have happened already. So I was just checking in with her and knowing and trusting that she will know when. She will tell me, but then what do we do from there? Was okay, so now are we going to wait 50 hours, and is that okay? I didn't even know it could go on for 50 hours, which that's amazing. Good to know that.
And did any of you have your partners like do something like check you, or did dads check, or what else would there be? Something, or like have to do something like that to help the process? She wanted you to, mums, or you spontaneously, no checking? Sometimes dads check.
I wanted to ask. I did ask her, should I be checking for dilation? Should I help? And then she just said, no, there's no need. And
I tried a couple of times checking myself, but I didn't really have a clue what I was doing. So I just, it didn't help me to check. Didn't really.
And Induleka, I know you had some with this, but maybe can you see if your speaker's better? It's just very soft. You sound so far away.
again, please? Can you repeat the question? I didn't hear properly.
Was your husband involved in like checking you or doing anything to help? You know, no. Okay.
Well,
Did you check yourself?
Yes. I did myself, and she just massaged me. Sorry.
Okay.
That's it. Okay,
Yeah, okay. Okay. Is there anything else that people want to ask or bring up or bring into the conversation? I think what's opened up to me is that we need to continue the conversation with more and more people, and you see how more and more people unfold this in their own way and explore it in their own way. And then whoever's eager, you know, we should write the book, write the handbook. You know, you've all, I think, got very practical. I mean, Rome, you've got the you know, you focused a lot on kind of coming into that internal space and that connection, and someone else will have done some other work, and we could bring this together into the workbook that Kirsty and I endlessly discuss.
I just wanted to say one thing. I think for the dads, it's like doing this process, we really learn how to hold space by going through this, because she is 100% in the lead now. And our best thing that we can do is just hold the space protectively and like to empower her, you know. So that's probably the main thing that we need to learn as the masculine.
Agreements. Holding space. Does anybody want to speak into that at all? Like how you learned to hold space, or what you felt came out of that experience? I think we're going to keep this for a part 2, I can feel, is maybe just what we've learned and what is uncovered now after the free birth, maybe how we see women, how we see birth, how we see the process, how we see the system, how we see our child, how we see our role. Maybe that's, and okay, I was going to stop the recording. I'm going to keep the recording here anyway, and then we'll just finish off. I would just like to say I'm not, you know, the Zoom's not the most professional setup in that, but I would really like to continue these discussions, because I think just by discussing and hearing, it's really where the healing and the inspiration and the connection comes from. And I think that, you know, as a human, as humanity, as spirits in this humanity on Mother Earth, the most powerful tool we have for healing right now is connecting, and the most powerful tool that is unhealing us and unraveling us and disturbing that is disconnection. So I really value all of you who've been here and who are, you know, connecting onto this, even if Sam is only connecting now. Sam, you missed it. We'll hear on the replay. We just really honor these connections also. And, you know, there's no judgments, there's no right and wrong, there's no one's process is better than another's process, even if something doesn't go as planned. And that's also part of this discussion. And I'd like to invite guests who have planned free births and who have then had to support their wives to the hospital. I want to include this discussion. So we're going to expand and grow, and thank you for being the first group to chat with us. And if there's any way you feel inspired to continue the discussion, and I'll let you all have a chance now, also everyone, then let's also keep in touch. Rome?
I just wanted to say I have to go now, but it's been an honor to meet everybody and to hear your stories. And I'd love to stay in contact with specifically the dads. I'd love to get your numbers and just be connected on WhatsApp or wherever. Yeah. All right.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rome. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you, guys.
Anybody else want to say a lasting comment? Thank you for your appreciation, Jagat and Nanda. If you want to connect or ask anything, please feel welcome. I think Rome, wow, for this dad's group offer, maybe we'll speak to you afterwards, but we can have follow-ups on the email about possible continuous connections for dads. Yeah. Dads groups and stuff. Anybody else want to end off with any words?
No, I think thanks for having us. And
Cool.
let's continue.
One more thing, sorry, we got a meeting that's going to happen inside with a friend and client, and he's in his mid-70s, and he just expressed to me that his daughter had 2 unassisted births, like 15 years ago. And yeah, they gave witness to a lot of animals giving birth when they lived on a farm. And I think people's exposure to nature would also empower expecting parents a lot more to see that that's the most natural thing we can do.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to compare witnessing impalas or elephants giving birth in the bush too. You guys, women
Sounds are the
giving
same. We
birth.
make
But it
sounds.
is, yeah.
But yes, it
It's
is.
There's a very beautiful story, and I'm going to send it on an email to everyone that I read yesterday that Robin Lim actually wrote about the devotion of a dad. And this dad is a goose dad. So I'm going to finish that off with that story that's going to follow up. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to connect with you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.